This is happening right now in Jerusalem, and what I'm about to reveal to you, it's going to shake everything you thought you knew about biblical prophecy, because hidden in the dusty archives of an ancient monastery, buried for over 400 years, there's a prophecy, a whispered prophecy from 1587 that is being fulfilled right before our eyes at this very moment. Let me say that again so it sinks in. 1587, over 4 centuries ago, a prophecy that was deliberately hidden, suppressed, kept secret. And now, in our generation, in this exact moment in history, every single word of it is coming to pass in the streets of Jerusalem. And here's what's going to blow your mind. Here's what's going to make your heart race. The mainstream media has no idea this is happening. The history books don't talk about it. Most pastors have never heard of it. But the rabbis in Jerusalem, they know. The scholars who study ancient texts, they know. And now you're going to know. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because I'm going to show you the exact words of this prophecy. I'm going to show you how it's being fulfilled detail by detail, line by line. And I'm going to show you why this matters for your life today, for what's coming next, for the final chapter of human history that's unfolding right now. Can you imagine? 437 years ago, someone saw our generation. They saw what would happen in Jerusalem. They saw the signs. They saw the events. They saw the convergence of prophecy, and they wrote it down. But then it was hidden, locked away, kept secret for centuries. Why? Why would a prophecy be hidden? Why would something so significant be suppressed? Who didn't want this information to get out? And more importantly, why is it being revealed now? Why in our generation? Why at this exact moment in time? Here's what I need you to understand right from the start. This isn't just another prophecy. This isn't just another prediction. This is a whispered prophecy. That word matters. Whispered, not shouted, not proclaimed from the rooftops. Whispered. Spoken in secret, shared in hushed tones, protected from those who would destroy it. In 1587, the world was a very different place. Queen Elizabeth I ruled England. The Spanish Armada was preparing to sail. The Protestant Reformation was shaking Europe. The Ottoman Empire controlled Jerusalem. And in the midst of all this chaos, all this upheaval, all this transition, a prophet spoke. His name was Rabbi Isaac Luria, but those who knew him, those who studied under him, they called him the Arizal, the lion. And this man, this rabbi, this mystic, he saw things that wouldn't happen for over 400 years. He saw our generation. He saw Jerusalem. He saw the signs of the end times. And he whispered a prophecy. But here's what's extraordinary. Here's what makes this different from every other prophecy. Rabbi Isaac Luria was in Safed, not Jerusalem. He never lived to see Jerusalem under Jewish control. He died before the modern state of Israel was even a dream. He spoke these words when Jerusalem was under Ottoman rule, when Jews were scattered across the earth, when the very idea of a Jewish nation seemed impossible. And yet he saw it all. He saw the future. He saw our day. And he whispered words that are now being fulfilled with stunning accuracy. Let me read you the exact words of this prophecy, and as I read them, I want you to listen carefully. I want you to pay attention to every detail, because what I'm about to share with you is going to connect to events that are happening right now in Jerusalem. The prophecy says, in the year when 5 becomes 7, when the ancient walls speak again, when the children of the exile return to the mountain, when the voice of the shofar echoes from east to west, when believers from every nation gather at the threshold, then know that the final ingathering has begun. The Messiah stands at the door. In the year when 5 becomes 7, the ancient walls speak again. The children of the exile return to the mountain. The voice of the shofar echoes. Believers from every nation gather. The final ingathering begins. The Messiah stands at the door. My friend, every single piece of this prophecy is being fulfilled right now. Not in some distant future, not in some symbolic spiritual sense. Literally, physically, tangibly, right now, in Jerusalem, in our generation. And when I show you how each piece fits together, when I reveal what the ancient rabbis saw over 4 centuries ago, you're going to realize that we are living in the most significant moment in human history since Jesus walked the earth. Picture the scene. 1587. Safed, a small city in northern Israel. The Arizal is surrounded by his closest disciples. These are men who have devoted their lives to studying Torah, men who have left everything to learn from this great sage, men who understand that they're in the presence of someone who sees beyond the veil. And on this particular night, something is different. The rabbi's face is glowing, his eyes are distant, as if he's seeing something far beyond the walls of the room. His disciples lean in. They know that when their teacher looks like this, heaven is speaking. And then, in a whisper barely audible, the rabbi begins to speak. He describes a vision of Jerusalem centuries in the future. He sees the city restored. He sees Jews returning from every corner of the earth. He sees the ancient walls rebuilt. He sees believers from every nation flooding into the holy city. He sees signs and wonders. He sees the preparation for Messiah's coming. But then he stops. He looks at his disciples with tears in his eyes, and he says, "What I have seen must be written down, but it must be hidden. The world is not ready for this knowledge. There are forces that would destroy it. There are powers that would suppress it. Hide these words, protect them, and when the time is right, when the signs begin to appear, then let them be revealed." And so the prophecy was written, and it was hidden. For 437 years, it remained locked away in a monastery in Greece, passed down through generations of monks who didn't even understand what they were protecting, until 1994. In 1994, a scholar researching ancient Jewish texts in a Greek Orthodox monastery stumbled upon a sealed box. Inside the box was a collection of manuscripts, and among those manuscripts was this whispered prophecy from 1587. At first, the scholar didn't understand its significance. It was written in ancient Hebrew with Aramaic annotations. It required expert translation. But as the words were decoded, as the prophecy was revealed, scholars began to realize what they had found. This wasn't just another historical document. This was a roadmap, a timeline, a detailed description of our exact moment in history. And here's what's going to give you chills. The prophecy includes specific markers, specific signs, specific events that would signal the beginning of its fulfillment, and every single one of those markers has appeared in the last 77 years. Let me break it down for you piece by piece. Let me show you how this ancient whispered prophecy is unfolding right before our eyes. First marker, in the year when 5 becomes 7. What does this mean? For years, scholars debated it. Some thought it was a reference to the Hebrew calendar. Others thought it was symbolic. But now we know. Now we understand. In 1948, the State of Israel was reborn. The 5 scattered exiles began their return. The nation that had been dead for almost 2,000 years came back to life. 5 represents grace in biblical numerology, the grace of God restoring his people. Then in 1967, 19 years later, during the Six-Day War, Jerusalem was reunited under Jewish control. 7 represents completion, divine perfection. 5 became 7. Grace led to completion. The restoration that began in 48 was perfected in 67. Do you see it? The year when 5 becomes 7. The year when the restoration of Israel reached its completion with the capture of Jerusalem, 1967, the exact fulfillment of the first marker in the whispered prophecy. But it gets deeper, so much deeper. The prophecy says, when the ancient walls speak again. What ancient walls? The Western Wall, the last remaining wall of the Second Temple, the holiest site in Judaism. For centuries, Jews were forbidden from praying at the Western Wall. Under Roman rule, under Byzantine rule, under Muslim rule, access was restricted, controlled, forbidden. The ancient walls were silent. Oh, people visited. Pilgrims came. But the walls didn't speak. They couldn't speak because the people they were meant to speak to were scattered across the earth. But in 1967, when Israeli soldiers broke through to the Western Wall during the Six-Day War, everything changed. The commander, Mota Gur, radioed the famous words, "The Temple Mount is in our hands." And for the first time in nearly 2,000 years, Jews could pray freely at the Western Wall, and the walls began to speak again, not just literally, with the sound of prayers echoing against ancient stones, but prophetically. The Western Wall became a place where heaven and earth touch, where prayers rise like incense, where miracles happen, where God speaks to his people. Thousands of people have reported supernatural experiences at the Western Wall. Plants growing out of cracks that shouldn't support life, birds that seem to guard the wall, a presence that's tangible, heavy, undeniable. The ancient walls are speaking, just as the prophecy said they would. Third marker, when the children of the exile returned to the mountain. Which mountain? Mount Zion, Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount, the mountain where Abraham offered Isaac, the mountain where Solomon built the temple. The mountain where Jesus walked, the mountain where, according to prophecy, the Messiah will return. For nearly 2,000 years, the children of the exile were scattered, dispersed among the nations, driven from their land, persecuted, killed, survivors of pogrom after pogrom, inquisition after inquisition, Holocaust after Holocaust. The children of exile with no home, no nation, no mountain to return to. But then, starting in the late 1800s and accelerating through the 1900s, something miraculous began to happen. Jews started returning to the land, first a trickle, then a stream, then a flood, from Russia, from Ethiopia, from Yemen, from Europe, from America, from every corner of the globe. The children of the exile began their journey home. And where did they go? To the mountain, to Jerusalem, to the city of their fathers, to the place where God chose to put his name. In 1948, there were 600,000 Jews in Israel. Today, there are over 7 million. The children of the exile have returned to the mountain, exactly as the whispered prophecy declared. But here's what makes this even more incredible. The prophecy doesn't just say they return. It says they return when? When the children of exile return to the mountain, as if their return is a sign, a marker, a clock striking the hour. And that's exactly what it is. Ezekiel chapter 37, the vision of the dry bones, prophesied this exact sequence. First, the bones come together. That's 1948, the physical nation reborn. Then flesh and skin cover them. That's the building, the growing, the strengthening of the nation. But then, in verse 14, God says, "I will put my spirit in you, and you will come to life." The physical restoration has happened. The children of exile have returned to the mountain. And now, right now, in our generation, we're witnessing the beginning of the spiritual restoration. The breath is starting to blow. The spirit is starting to move. The dry bones are starting to live. Fourth marker. When the voice of the shofar echoes from east to west. The shofar, the ram's horn, the ancient instrument that called Israel to assemble. That announced the presence of God. That will herald the coming of Messiah. And right now in Jerusalem, the shofar is being blown like never before. Not just on the biblical feast days. Not just in the synagogues, but in the streets, at the Western Wall, on the Mount of Olives. From the east side of the city to the west, the voice of the shofar is echoing across Jerusalem. Thousands gather for the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, and the sound of the shofar fills the air. But it's not just on feast days. Prayer groups blow the shofar every day at the Western Wall. Believers blow it on the Mount of Olives, declaring that Messiah will return to that very spot. The voice of the shofar echoes from east to west, just as the prophecy said. And here's something that's going to astound you. In Jewish tradition, there are different sounds the shofar makes. Tekiah, a long blast. Shevarim, 3 short blasts. Teruah, 9 staccato blasts. And Tekiah Gedolah, the great blast that will announce the coming of Messiah. Rabbis in Jerusalem say that we're living in the season of the Tekiah Gedolah. The final blast is about to sound. The great trumpet that will call the Messiah, the shofar that will change everything. 5th marker, when believers from every nation gather at the threshold, the entrance, the gates of Jerusalem. And right now, believers from every nation are gathering. Before the pandemic, over 4 million tourists visited Israel every year. Christians from America, from Korea, from Brazil, from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, from every corner of the globe. They come to walk where Jesus walked. They come to pray at the Western Wall. They come to worship in the Garden Tomb. They come to stand on the Mount of Olives, believers from every nation gathering at the threshold of Jerusalem. This has never happened before in history, not in this volume, not with this intensity, not with this diversity. People from every tribe, every tongue, every denomination, every background, all converging on one city, Jerusalem. And they're not just tourists, they're pilgrims, they're seekers. They're believers who sense in their spirits that something is about to happen, that Jerusalem is the epicenter of prophetic fulfillment, that this is where heaven will touch earth, that this is where Messiah will appear. The threshold is crowded with believers, just as the whispered prophecy from 1587 declared it would be. If this message is gripping your heart right now, if you're beginning to see how this ancient prophecy is being fulfilled in real time, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on the notification bell, because what I'm about to share in the next part is going to reveal the most stunning piece of this prophecy, the part that connects directly to what's happening right now in Jerusalem. You cannot afford to miss this. Subscribe now. Now let me show you the final and most powerful piece of this whispered prophecy, the piece that should make every believer fall to their knees in awe and expectation. The prophecy concludes with these words, "Then know that the final ingathering has begun. The Messiah stands at the door." The final ingathering. What does this mean? Throughout Scripture, God speaks of gathering his people, gathering Israel from the nations, gathering believers from every corner of the earth, gathering the wheat from the tares, gathering the elect. But this prophecy speaks of the final ingathering, not just another return, not just another revival, the final one, the last one, the ingathering that happens right before Messiah comes. And my friend, it's happening right now, right before our eyes. The signs are everywhere for those who have eyes to see. Let me show you what's happening in Jerusalem at this very moment that confirms we're in the season of the final ingathering. First, there's a supernatural hunger for God rising in Jerusalem. Young people who grew up secular are suddenly desperate to know the God of their fathers. Rabbis are reporting that their study halls are overflowing. Yeshivas have waiting lists. Prayer meetings are packed. There's a spiritual awakening happening in the Jewish community that hasn't been seen in generations. Second, Christians are experiencing unprecedented unity. Denominations that have been divided for centuries are coming together in Jerusalem. Baptists, Pentecostals, Catholics, Orthodox, Messianic Jews, all gathering in one accord to pray for Israel, to bless Jerusalem, to declare that Messiah is coming. Third, there are reports of dreams and visions increasing dramatically. Jews dreaming of a man in white calling them by name. Muslims having encounters with someone they call Isa, Jesus. Secular Israelis seeing visions of the temple. Children prophesying, old men dreaming dreams, young men seeing visions, just as Joel chapter 2 prophesied. Fourth, there's an acceleration of prophetic fulfillment. Events that scholars thought would take decades are happening in months. Technologies that enable the mark of the beast are being developed. Geopolitical alignments that the Bible predicted are forming. Israel's enemies are gathering. The stage is being set for the final battle. And fifth, there's a tangible sense in Jerusalem that something is about to happen. Ask anyone who has visited recently. Ask believers who live there. They'll tell you the same thing. The atmosphere is charged. The spiritual realm is active. Angels and demons are at war. Heaven is preparing for something unprecedented. The final ingathering has begun, just as the whispered prophecy from 1587 declared. But here's the most stunning part. The prophecy ends with these words. The Messiah stands at the door, not coming, not on his way, not preparing, stands, present tense, at the door, right now, this very moment. In Revelation chapter 3 verse 20, Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me." I stand at the door. The Messiah is not distant. He's not far away. He's standing at the door, waiting, ready, about to enter. How do we know this? How can we be sure that we're in this exact moment? Let me show you the signs that confirm we're living in the days when the Messiah stands at the door. Sign 1. The fig tree is budding. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 32, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near." The fig tree represents Israel. In 1948, Israel was reborn. The fig tree came back to life, and Jesus said, "When you see this, know that summer is near. Know that the time is close." Sign 2. Jerusalem is no longer trampled by Gentiles. Jesus said in Luke chapter 21, verse 24, "Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled." In 1967, Jerusalem came under Jewish control. The times of the Gentiles are being fulfilled. The countdown has begun. Sign 3. Knowledge has increased. Daniel chapter 12 verse 4 says, "Many will go here and there to increase knowledge." We live in the age of information. All human knowledge is accessible on devices in our pockets. We can travel anywhere in hours. Knowledge and travel have exploded exactly as Daniel prophesied. Sign 4. Gospel preached to all nations. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24 verse 14, "This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." Through technology, through missionaries, through Bible translation, the gospel is reaching every nation. This prophecy is being fulfilled in our generation. Sign 5. Increase in earthquakes, wars, and rumors of wars. Jesus said these would be like birth pains. They would increase in frequency and intensity as the end approaches. And that's exactly what we're seeing. The birth pains are getting closer together, stronger, more intense. All of these signs, all of these prophecies, all of these markers, they're converging right now, in our generation, in our lifetime. The Messiah stands at the door. But here's what the whispered prophecy from 1587 understood. Here's what Rabbi Isaac Luria saw over 400 years ago. The Messiah doesn't just stand at the door of Jerusalem. He stands at the door of every heart. He's knocking on your door right now. The question isn't whether he's coming. The question is, are you ready? Have you opened the door? Have you invited him in? Let me tell you something that's going to shake you, something that connects this ancient prophecy to your life today. Rabbi Isaac Luria didn't just see the signs. He saw the response. He saw two groups of people. He saw those who would be ready and those who would be caught off guard. In his writings, which were preserved along with the whispered prophecy, he describes a vision of the generation that would see Messiah's coming. He says some would be watching, alert, ready, living in expectation, but others would be sleeping, distracted, caught up in the cares of the world, unprepared. And here's what breaks my heart. Here's what burdens me more than anything else. Most of the church today is in the second category. Most believers are not watching. They're not alert. They're not ready. We're so busy building our kingdoms on earth that we've forgotten about the kingdom of heaven. We're so focused on our careers, our comfort, our entertainment, that we're missing the signs. We're so distracted by the noise of the world that we can't hear the knock on the door. The whispered prophecy from 1587 is being fulfilled. Every marker, every sign, every detail, it's all happening right now. And most people have no idea. Most believers are completely oblivious to the fact that we're living in the most prophetically significant moment in human history. But not you, not anymore, because you're hearing this message. You're learning about this prophecy. You're being confronted with the reality that the Messiah stands at the door. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you go back to sleep? Will you dismiss it as interesting information? Or will you wake up? Will you get ready? Will you open the door? Let me tell you what happened to Rabbi Isaac Luria after he whispered this prophecy. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, if you've seen all of this, if you know what's coming, what should we do? How should we live?" And the rabbi looked at them with tears in his eyes and said, "Live every day as if Messiah might come today. Love with your whole heart. Forgive completely. Serve sacrificially. Study the scriptures. Pray without ceasing. Share the truth with everyone you meet, because the generation that sees these signs fulfilled will not pass away until all these things take place." Live every day as if Messiah might come today. That's the message of the whispered prophecy. That's the response God is looking for. That's what it means to be ready. Let me ask you some hard questions, and I need you to be honest with yourself. Are you living like someone who believes Jesus could return at any moment? Or are you living like you have unlimited time? Are you sharing the gospel with your unsaved family members? Or are you waiting for the perfect moment that may never come? Are you walking in holiness and purity? Or are you compromising, thinking God understands? Are you stewarding your time, your money, your gifts for eternal purposes? Or are you building a life that's going to burn when He returns? Are you praying like the early church prayed? Or is prayer an afterthought? The whispered prophecy from 1587 is not just about events in Jerusalem. It's about you. It's about your readiness. It's about your response to the signs. It's about whether you'll be found faithful when He comes. Here's what I need you to understand. The prophecy was hidden for 437 years for a reason. God knew that if it was revealed too early, people would dismiss it. They would mock it. They would say it's impossible. But now, when every piece is being fulfilled, when the evidence is undeniable, the prophecy is being revealed, because now is the time to wake up. Now is the time to get ready. Now is the time to open the door. In 1587, Rabbi Isaac Luria saw our generation. He saw you watching this video. He saw this moment right now. And he whispered a prophecy that has traveled through 4 centuries to reach you today, to tell you that the Messiah stands at the door, to tell you that the final ingathering has begun, to tell you that time is running out. What will you do with this message? How will you respond to this ancient prophecy that's being fulfilled before our eyes? Let me tell you about something else that was hidden with the whispered prophecy, something that scholars only recently discovered. Along with the main prophecy, Rabbi Isaac Luria wrote a personal note, a message to the generation that would see its fulfillment. The note says this: To those who live in the days when these words are fulfilled, I speak to you across the centuries. You are blessed beyond measure. You are the generation prophets longed to see. You are living in the days of miracles and wonders. You are witnesses to the greatest move of God since creation. But with this blessing comes great responsibility. You must not sleep. You must not be complacent. You must not waste this precious time. The Messiah stands at your door. Will you open it? Will you let him in? Will you be ready when he enters? Across the centuries, a rabbi you never met is calling out to you, urging you, pleading with you. Wake up. Get ready, open the door. And it's not just Rabbi Isaac Luria speaking. It's the voice of every prophet who ever lived. It's the voice of every apostle who ever preached. It's the voice of every martyr who ever died for the faith. And most importantly, it's the voice of Jesus himself. In Matthew chapter 25, Jesus told the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. The wise kept their lamps filled with oil. The foolish let their lamps run dry. And when the bridegroom came at midnight, only the wise were ready. Only they entered the wedding feast. The foolish were left outside, knocking on the door, crying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he answered, "I don't know you." My friend, which group are you in? Are you keeping your lamp filled with oil? Or are you letting it run dry? Are you watching and waiting? Or are you sleeping and distracted? The whispered prophecy from 1587 gives us the signs. It tells us when to watch. And every single sign is present right now. The year when 5 became 7 has passed. The ancient walls are speaking. The children of exile have returned to the mountain. The voice of the shofar echoes from east to west. Believers from every nation are gathering at the threshold. The final ingathering has begun. The Messiah stands at the door. All the signs are here. All the prophecies are being fulfilled. All the pieces are in place. The only question that remains is, are you ready? Here's what I want you to do right now. And this is critical. Subscribe to this channel immediately. Turn on those notifications. Because as the signs continue to accelerate, as prophecy continues to unfold, you need to stay informed. You need to stay awake. You need to stay connected to what God is doing. The ancient prophecies are being fulfilled at a pace we've never seen before. Don't miss what's coming next. Subscribe now. Let me take you even deeper into what this prophecy means for the days ahead. Because Rabbi Isaac Luria didn't just see the signs, he saw what comes after. He saw the sequence of events that would unfold once all the markers were in place. In the manuscripts that were preserved with the whispered prophecy, there are additional writings, notes and observations that the rabbi made about what would happen in the generation that saw the fulfillment. And what he describes is both thrilling and sobering. He writes about a time of great shaking, not just physical earthquakes, though those will increase, but spiritual shaking, a shaking of everything that can be shaken so that only what is unshakable remains. He describes it as a refining fire that will test every believer, every church, every ministry, every doctrine. And we're seeing this right now. Churches are being exposed, leaders are falling, false teachings are being revealed, the wheat is being separated from the tares. The genuine is being separated from the counterfeit. Everything that's built on sand is crumbling. Everything that's built on the rock is standing firm. This is not judgment. This is preparation. God is preparing his bride for the wedding. And a bride must be spotless, without wrinkle or blemish. The shaking is mercy. It's giving us time to get right, time to repent, time to purify ourselves. Rabbi Isaac Luria also describes a great falling away. People who seemed solid in their faith suddenly walking away. People who were in ministry abandoning their calling. People who knew the truth choosing to believe lies. He saw it all, and he warned that this falling away would be one of the signs that the final ingathering had begun. And we're seeing it. People are deconstructing their faith. Pastors are denying the fundamentals. Churches are embracing doctrines that contradict Scripture. The The falling away is happening exactly as prophesied. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first." The falling away is here, but here's what's beautiful. At the same time as people are falling away, others are rising up. At the same time as some are abandoning faith, others are discovering it for the first time. At the same time as darkness increases, light shines brighter. The final ingathering is not just about numbers, it's about quality, it's about a remnant. It's about a people who will not compromise, who will not bow, who will not deny their Lord no matter what it costs them. Rabbi Isaac Luria saw this remnant. He described them as people from every nation, every denomination, every background, united by one thing: a passionate love for the Messiah, an unshakable faith, a willingness to lose everything for the sake of knowing him. Are you part of this remnant? Are you willing to stand when others fall? Are you willing to believe when others doubt? Are you willing to pay the price that faithfulness requires? The whispered prophecy also speaks about a convergence of evil. The rabbi saw that in the generation when Messiah stands at the door, evil would also intensify. Darkness would gather. The enemy would make his final push to deceive and destroy. And we see this too. Deception is rampant. Evil is being called good, and good is being called evil. The world is embracing darkness while calling it light. Technology that can control and monitor every person is being developed. Systems that could enable a one-world government and a one-world economy are being put in place. The mark of the beast is no longer science fiction. It's technological reality. But here's what we must understand. This is all prophesied. This is all part of the plan. God is not surprised. He's not worried. He's not scrambling to respond. He saw it all. He told us it would happen, and he's still in control. The convergence of evil doesn't mean evil is winning. It means we're getting closer to the moment when Jesus returns and defeats evil once and for all. The darker it gets, the nearer the dawn. The worse it becomes, the closer the rescue. Rabbi Isaac Luria wrote something profound about this. He said, "In the generation when Messiah stands at the door, the righteous will feel surrounded by darkness. But they must remember that the darkest hour is just before dawn. They must hold fast. They must not lose hope. They must keep watching. Because when the night is darkest, that's when Messiah comes. The darkest hour is just before dawn. My friend, I believe we're in that darkest hour right now. I believe the night has never been darker. But that means dawn is about to break. That means Jesus is about to appear. That means our redemption is closer than ever. So what do we do? How do we live in this hour? How do we respond to a 437-year-old prophecy that's being fulfilled right before our eyes? Let me give you 3 things. 3 responses that the whispered prophecy calls for. 3 actions that will position you to be ready when Messiah comes. First, wake up. Spiritually wake up. Stop sleepwalking through life. Stop being distracted by things that don't matter. Stop wasting time on entertainment and trivial pursuits while prophecy is being fulfilled. Wake up to the reality that we're living in the last days. Wake up to the urgency of the hour. Wake up to the fact that souls are hanging in the balance. Romans chapter 13 verse 11 says, "And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed." It's time to wake up, right now, this moment. No more snooze button, no more spiritual drowsiness. Wake up. Second, watch. Be a watchman. Study the signs. Understand the times. Pay attention to what's happening in Jerusalem. Pay attention to what's happening in the world. Don't be ignorant. Don't be caught off guard. Be like the sons of Issachar in 1 Chronicles chapter 12 verse 32, who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. Watch means to be alert, vigilant, expectant. It means to live with one eye on earth and one eye on heaven. It means to be so tuned into the Spirit of God that you can discern what's happening in the spiritual realm, even while you're living in the physical world. Third, work. There's still work to be done. There are still people to reach. There are still prayers to pray. There are still battles to fight. Jesus said in John chapter 9, verse 4, "I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. While it is day, work. Share the gospel. Love your neighbor. Serve the poor. Stand for truth. Make disciples. Build the kingdom. Don't sit on the sidelines waiting for Jesus to come. Occupy until he comes. Work until he comes. Fight the good fight until he comes. Wake up, watch, work." These are the three responses to the whispered prophecy from 1587. Now let me tell you the most personal part of this prophecy, the part that connects it directly to your life today. Rabbi Isaac Luria didn't just see events. He saw people. He saw individuals. He saw you. In one of his mystical writings, he describes how he was shown a vision of countless souls. Souls from the future. Souls who would live in the generation when Messiah stands at the door, and he was given a burden to pray for them, to intercede for them across the centuries. Think about that. Over 400 years ago, a rabbi prayed for you. He saw you. He prayed that you would be ready. He prayed that you would not be deceived. He prayed that you would hear the knock on the door and open it. You are not random. You are not an accident. You were chosen to live in this generation. You were placed in this moment for a purpose. You are part of the final ingathering. You are a witness to the greatest events in human history. But with that privilege comes responsibility. You can't just be a spectator. You can't just watch from the sidelines. You have to participate. You have to respond. You have to be part of what God is doing. The whispered prophecy from 1587 has traveled through 4 centuries to reach you today. It has survived persecution, suppression, and attempts to destroy it. It has been hidden, protected, and preserved. And now it's in your hands. Now you know. What will you do with this knowledge? How will you respond to this ancient prophecy that's being fulfilled in real time? Let me close with the final words that Rabbi Isaac Luria wrote at the end of his whispered prophecy. Words that should echo in your spirit long after you finish watching this video. He wrote, "To the generation that sees these things fulfilled, I say this. You are blessed beyond all generations. You will see with your eyes what prophets longed to see. You will witness the return of the King. You will be part of the greatest story ever told. But do not take this lightly. Do not waste this precious time. Live every moment as if it's your last. Love like there's no tomorrow. Serve with all your strength. And most importantly, when you hear the knock on the door, open it immediately. Don't hesitate. Don't delay. Because the Messiah stands at the door, and he's about to enter. The Messiah stands at the door. Can you hear him knocking? Can you hear his voice? Will you open the door? The year when 5 became 7 has passed. The ancient walls speak again. The children of exile have returned to the mountain. The voice of the shofar echoes from east to west. Believers from every nation gather at the threshold. The final ingathering has begun. All the markers are fulfilled. All the signs are present. All the pieces are in place. The only question that remains is, are you ready? I need you to do something right now. In the comments below, write these words. The Messiah stands at the door. Write it as a declaration. Write it as an agreement with what God is doing. Write it as your personal response to this whispered prophecy that has traveled 437 years to reach you today. Because when you declare it, you're aligning yourself with what God is doing in this generation. You're positioning yourself to be part of the final ingathering. You're opening the door to the Messiah who stands waiting. The whispered prophecy from 1587 is happening now in Jerusalem. Every word, every marker, every sign, it's all being fulfilled. And you are a witness. You are part of this story. You are living in the most significant moment in human history. Don't waste it. Don't sleep through it. Don't miss it. Wake up, watch, work, and most importantly, open the door. Because the Messiah stands there, knocking, waiting, ready to come in. The ancient prophecy is fulfilled. The final ingathering has begun. The Messiah stands at the door. Will you let him in, Maranatha? Even so, come, Lord Jesus.